Okay, good afternoon. Thank you. I'm sorry about being late. We have a very interesting panel today to treat about one of the main aspects of the smart cities and the use of so much technology that you are seeing here these days, and it's related to a task that is the inclusion, or we can say what is the exclusion, the discrimination in cities. We're going to see several cases from several different angles in order to see how they are coping with this problem that we have in the cities that are not so smart, by the way, if we are not coping with that. So I'm going to introduce briefly the people that we have here. So we have Dr. Hila Oren. She is the CEO of the Tel Aviv Foundation. So it's a person very much related with the city making processes. Afterwards, we have Jennifer Sanders, is executive director of the Dallas Innovation Alliance. We'll see how the situation in Dallas and what kind of projects they are dealing with. Afterwards, Albert Isern, that comes from a company called Momentum Analytics, and he's dealing with big data, applying to localizing vulnerable areas in cities. Afterwards, Jody Barnett from MasterCard. She's a VP Enterprise Partnerships in Toronto. Finally, Federico Cayumi from the company Wallap. He's the Chief Marketing Officer based in Italy. He will talking about what his company is doing to deal with this. So quickly, please, Hila, you have
I have the floor.
the floor. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Can you hear me? It's quite a challenge. Thank you so much, first of all, for coming here. Can the audience hear anything? Okay, I have 5 minutes, and I would like to give these 5 minutes to refer to a very important challenge that we have in the last couple of months. My name is Hila Oren, and as I define myself, I'm a city maker. I'm not a shoemaker, I'm not a filmmaker, I'm a city maker. City makers are people that are taking off red tapes and putting red carpets. I think this is the new role that we all have in cities. We have our traditional roles, but this is a role that we can all collaborate on it, and I will elaborate on that a little bit more. So the Tel Aviv Foundation is a 40-year-old traditional organization that raises money, but in the last 4 years, we asked ourselves, how can we help differently to the city that you probably heard about Tel Aviv? It's got a great ecosystem, innovation, entrepreneurship, the smart city, the startup city of the startup nation. But how are we doing it? What is so special about this? And what is I can't see this. How are we supporting these people that are in need, the poor and vulnerable, as my colleague would refer to that? First is to put a focus on enabling city game changers, driving urban renewal and co-creating impact. But I don't want to focus on that. That's just to refer to it. The real thing is the nonstop urban philanthropy. If you want to stretch the city budget, and whoever is sitting here on the stairs, what is our challenge? Always the budget is a challenge. How are we stretching it? How are we finding more financial tools to challenge that thing? Innovative financial tools. This is the topic, but let's drill down for a minute into the social coin. I can't see this. Okay. We wanted 3 things. Non-traditional way, new players. I need this. Sorry, I can't see this. Non-traditional way, new players, and individuals. These are the things that we want to focus. If you ask me, design for impact, the economics, I can't see, the social impact, and the environment impact. If we want to promote values and social income, whatever you see over there, those are not just words. Take every thing that is written, urban resilience, social responsibility. When we're coming to a smart city, right, we always refer to light, to garbage, to roads, to sustainability. What about our social responsibility? How are we dealing with this? When you asked Adolfo about your challenge in Sevilla, how are we dealing with this challenge? So I think we found one tool. Again, it's only a tool. It's not the only way, but it's a tool to face this challenge. It's called local digital currency. It's not a crypto and it's not blockchain. It's a local digital coin. We have a partner, Kolu, from the private sector, but we believe very much in collaborations. My colleague here, Efrat Mekin Knafo, which is the CRO of the city, and is part of the Rockefeller Foundation, brought us a lot of knowledge about this issue, which is called Kulu. And of course, we did a pilot. You never go into a project without pilot. So we did two little pilots 3 months ago. And then we finally launched it. The challenge, an urban shock, Jaffa, Jerusalem Boulevard, a boulevard that was shut down because we needed to dig underneath. All the businesses collapsed in 2 weeks. Poor and vulnerable, Arab neighborhood, very poor and doesn't know how to react to that. What do? How are you as a smart city reflecting to that? How are you helping them? We decided we're going on a big campaign with all the strong assets in that area. When you want, you have to hang on your low-hanging fruits. What was actually the product? What did we do in order to help them, to help the businesses there? They loaded an app on their smartphone. You don't see it? Oh, wait. There we go. Sorry. Thank you. We loaded an app that when you use it, you get a cashback of 30%. Now, who is using 30% discount? People that have money are not going to look for that discount, but people that this really makes a difference for them, that really reduces the cost of money, these are the people that will come and get there. We got in 3 months 100 businesses and 4,000 residents. It looks small numbers. It's big for a little neighborhood with a very little amount of money. Only $300 made that big difference. It gave back light to the people. It really made an impact. Now you see these people, there's a story behind that. It's not just the faces. There's testimonies where you could hear it. My time is up, but what I really wanted to share with you is that with smart solutions, with smart tools, we can really help people. It's up to us as city makers to listen to our residents. We can listen to them on the road, but we can listen to them also on our digital card or in any other way. There's much that I would love to share with you, but for this time, wait for my next year talk about social bonds and loneliness. For this time, it's enough. Thank you so much.
So interesting. So please, Jennifer, you have now the position. You're seeing how in the smart cities from other areas that we are seeing normally, energy, mobility, and this kind of thing, we are touching something so interesting. So please, Jennifer.
Very good. All right. Can you all hear me okay? Okay. Very good. So again, I'm the executive director of the Dallas Innovation Alliance. So we're a nonprofit public-private partnership that works with 36 organizations to support the city of Dallas's smart city strategy. But how we look at smart cities, because this is still a topic that is defined and debated quite frequently, is we really look at it as the intersection of data technology alongside the community. So it is still very much a human-centric approach. And our mayor, when we went and pitched this to him initially, essentially said, and forgive my language, he said, I don't give a shit about the shiny objects if it doesn't help people. And so really centering first on the problem we're trying to solve, and then moving forward into what are the appropriate solutions to face. And so very important, and this all seems very simple, but often these steps are not taken, and as a result, solutions fail. So what we really look at is treetops to grassroots and then back. And so we work with decision makers, we work with elected officials, we work with CEOs, but then we work embedded in local communities. And the communities that we're working in right now have been underserved for decades and decades. They're the result of redlining, which I can talk more about at another point. But they have been disappointed over and over. People come in and they don't listen and they don't ask them what they need, and they essentially say, "You're welcome, we're going to solve this problem," and then they disappear from those communities. And so one of the communities that we're working in right now, I'm trying to figure out the right angle here. So one of the communities we're working in right now is called Southern Dallas. Dallas has a dramatic north-south divide from an income perspective, from a racial perspective. And so just for context, Southern Dallas is 50% of the landmass of Dallas, but it's less than 20% of the tax base. So we have a great disparity there just from the socioeconomic perspective there. I'm going to try and remember. Hold on. Okay. Over half of the population of Southern Dallas is transit dependent, meaning they don't own a car, but only 20% of jobs, living wage jobs, are accessible for under 90 minutes, which is obviously a huge piece. So what we've been working on over the past 18 months is working on engaging with these communities first and doing a lot of listening. So again, coming in and saying, "I'm not here to tell you what your problem is, I'm here to listen," and then continue to show up until you're comfortable and embrace these ideas as they come. Because that's the only way they'll, one, be successful, and two, be sustainable. Because we also operate from a pilot perspective, and if we haven't put the motions in place for it to both be funded and operated by the community, then we're in a great deal of trouble. So through that, we've engaged with thousands of citizens, over 100 community organizations, and 80 civic leaders just in this sector to this point. So while that's quite a few, and it has taken quite a bit of time, we knew that for this phase of our projects, it was essential to the success of our initiative. So to that end, there are three areas that we're focused on. One is mobility, one is digital divide, and the third is public safety. And so when we think about mobility, and Toyota is a partner of ours in this initiative, we're not just looking about point A to B, we're looking at access to healthy food, to health care. What are all of the pieces between point A and B that inhibit you from living your best and living your healthiest life? From a public safety perspective, I just want to mention the map on the lower right. So one of the things we did, you can't just rely on quantitative data in order to get to your solutions. Qualitative is very important as well. We took crime data to this community and we said, "Does this look right to you? Where these hotspots are, where the really violent areas are?" And they said, "It kind of does, but not really, because these corridors are also highly problematic. We don't let our kids walk home from school." I said, "Why don't those show up?" And they said, "Because we have given up calling the police. We don't believe that they're going to come anymore." And so you really have to talk to those communities in order to really understand what is the full picture of the data. It's not always going to show up in the quantitative data. I have no idea where I am on time. Right. Am I already over?
The watch is closed.
We don't know? Nobody knows. All right, I'll keep going. I'm almost done. From the digital divide perspective, Dallas ranks 6th worst in the U.S. for large cities in terms of the number. So there's 41% of our population does not have access to internet in the home. And that is, again, 6th worst in the country. We are not proud of that, but what that means is we all need to come to the table in order to find our piece of the solutions. And we had a summit with the Federal Reserve Bank of Dallas recently, and one of the pieces that was really shared is the telecommunications providers are sick of having fingers pointed at their area. They have market-driven factors that come into play. Cities and public sector are also sick of it. So the message was, you can't point the finger at one entity on who created this problem. You also can't point the finger at one entity on how it will be solved. So the core is between funding and policy and implementation. What is each of these types of entities' role, whether it's philanthropy, whether it's government, whether it's the private sector? And so really the whole kind of moral of the story is, how do you work inside these communities? So inside out, how do you bring all the relevant sectors together in a meaningful way? And often that has competing outcomes. And so how do you find a way to herd cats, as I was just explaining what that American phrase means earlier, and how do you find ways to have those solutions where we each play our part? And we will have data as to these projects coming in 2020. Thank you all very much.
Thank you very much, Jennifer. Quite an interesting speech. And now we have Albert is here to talk us about the data treatment that you are doing.
It's okay? It's okay? Oh.
It's a challenge.
Okay. Okay. I want to tell you a story. 5 years ago, my son was 6 months old, and I was rocking him for his daily colic. I was on my balcony with my son, looking at neighbors, and I noticed that a neighbor was following his cat with a torch. I thought, what a stupid game. The next evening, I was rocking my son again, and I saw the same neighbor with a torch. And the next evening, I saw again the same neighbor with a torch. Then I realized they have not electricity. I'm living in Barcelona, in the first world, and the poverty is closer than we can imagine. Thanks to big data, we can correlate socio-demographic and economic information to identify vulnerable population in order to provide them the grants that the municipalities have for this purpose. Municipalities offer grants in a reactive way to people who apply for them. But there are a lot of old people who don't know they can access help, who don't know how they can access help, or maybe they are too embarrassed for ask. But for this challenge, we collide with privacy laws. Anyway, we can work with statistical information. We can work with aggregated information, providing highly valuable information to social services. Now, social services are asking for the budget subjectively. They are fighting with other departments and public agencies for the money, and he who shouts louder wins. Thanks to our machine learning predictive algorithms, cities can plan the next year's budget. Also, sociodemographic and economic information allows us to improve health. Do you know how important is the healthcare system for our health? And 11%. Do you know how important is our genetics, our DNA for our health? 27%. The rest is our social features, lifestyle, aging population, loneliness. Here, for an example, here in Barcelona, the life expectancy is focused on our social features. For example, the difference of life expectancy between Pedralbes neighborhood and Torre Baró neighborhood is 10 years. And only there are 5 kilometers of distance. I'm not talking about Barcelona and a city of Africa. I'm talking here in Barcelona. If we identify this vulnerable population, thanks to this social, economic, and demographic analytics, we can evolve from a palliative approach to a preventive one. Thanks to big data, we can change the world. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Albert. For certain, big data has come to give us a help. So now we have Jody Barnett from
Hi, everybody.
MasterCard.
All right. Hi, everybody. I'm Jody Barnett from MasterCard. I'm going to try to navigate this microphone PowerPoint situation here for you all this afternoon and work some magic. So we're going to talk about facing social challenges and building inclusive cities. So I'm going to start by saying that I think that the word challenge is the operative word here today and probably for the next 3 days, because I think the challenge is what unites us all. In this fight as we start to move towards a more inclusive society. So as I said, I think we're united by the challenge. And so I know you guys have probably heard this stat a lot. It's not a new stat, and yet every single time I hear it, it gives me great pause to think that 70% of the world's population will be living in an urban area by 2050. But over 50% of us already do today. And that has great economic strides. We're contributing 80% of the GDP from urban centers, but it's obviously not without its strain of urbanization. And so some of the issues we talk about are the environment. We talk about mobility. We talk about housing. And all of those issues can seem incredibly insurmountable. And at times, certainly tackling those issues alone would seem impossible. But we actually see a world where we start with the possible, where we work together in order to start to think through these challenges as a collective group. Quite simply, we call that network City Possible. So what is MasterCard City Possible? It's a new model of public and private partnership where we co-create to solve for urban challenges. And we're doing that today in over 200 cities around the world. We do it in a variety of ways. One of the ways we do it is something that we call City Key. City Key is a payments platform that enables greater financial inclusion and access. We do it through transit systems. We're moving millions of people every single day in hundreds of cities. But what I actually want to talk to you about today is just building on this last point of data. So data in and of itself is at the core of everything we decide to do. It backs up the arguments that we need to make. It's the spirit of how we will move forward. And at MasterCard, we have actually developed something that we call City Insights. City Insights uses our data in order to view performance of transactions at a geogrid level. So what's a geogrid level? A geogrid level is literally taking it down by a 100 by 100 meter radius and looking at spending patterns and behavior. So how is that useful? You can take that data and you can overlay it with different types of data sources to really get at the heart of what is happening from an economic health perspective. You can look at the cause and effect of certain events in your cities. You can look at the cause and effect of certain weather patterns in your cities and understand how that information might help you in urban planning. So I'm delighted to share with you that there are 3 cities that have already piloted with this platform today. The first of which is London. And so London used this information to really understand tourist patterns and how they were able to develop very specific programs to target the tourist areas within their city, again, down to the street level for very specific dates. The second city I'll share with you is Chicago, who looked at the impact of an actual event, and that event sort of before and after in terms of the transaction behavior. And the third example here is the city of Dublin. And so for the storm Ophelia, you think about the impact of a natural disaster on the economy and of the very specific businesses in that area. And they were able to get a very, very particular view of what that impact meant to them. And obviously this is helping with the planning as they move forward. But as I said, I really think it's just begun. So if you think about the basis of what this is, it's the ability to look at transactional data at a very specific geogrid level for a very specific point in time. It's unlike the resources that many municipalities have at their fingertips today because it's allowing them to have access to that very specific view. It's not dated, it's not anecdotal, it's not survey. This is real-time based data. So in closing, I'm going to share a quote, and this is actually from Jamie Cudden from the Smart Cities program in the Dublin City Council, who spoke about using this data, again, and its impact on the event, to actually inform policy. And so for us, we look at that and say, informing policy is something that is incredibly encouraging. I talked about how we're united by the challenge, and we have to find possibility in those challenges. And so I wish you all great success over the next few days here at the event and find possibilities in the challenges. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Jody. Now, Federico, please.
Okay. Hi, everybody. My name is Federico, and I'm the CMO of Volap. We are producers of technology like digital totem for outdoor. Screens and displays. I would like to start with this sentence. So, we strongly believe that technology is for all, literally for all, because sometimes we make the mistake to think about that technology is luxury. We don't have to think about this because technology is for all, because we believe strongly that if you put and if you deliver the right technology to the right people, you can reach even the most dangerous part of the world with the right technology. The other part is that technology is for all, but content is the most important thing. So depending on where are you, it depends from what are you displaying. And our technology helps to deliver the right content to the right people, because we are able to understand who's gonna be next to our digital totems, and we are able to show the right content to the right people. We have done this test, for example, in a poor place in Italy, in one of the most dangerous suburbs in Milan, and we put it there, two totems, with one with inside spot advertising of luxury brands, and the other one spot and advertising coming from sport brands. This happened. So after a month, they were placed exactly in the same place. So after 1 month, the one with the luxury brands going around, with the luxury brands advertising going around, it was completely broken. So after a month, people in the suburb, they broke the glass, they tried to break the glass, they completely, spray with the graffiti on the glass. So we completely lost our totem. The other one, next 100 meters from the previous one, the other one was completely, it was right. Nobody tried to break, nobody tried to do nothing, to spray graffiti on that. So the product was the same, the content was different. And this because people want to see something. If the people is not able to see exactly what he wants to see, this make them very upset, especially in places where we have a lot of social problems. Technology can do that. Technology is not luxury just for people, it is for rich people, for people that knows technology. Technology is for all, because if you understand who you're gonna be, who you have in front, you can deliver the right content in this way. And another thing is that the totems, our screens are, we call it hub, because actually there are point of reference of a lot of stuff. They have to reassure people walking around our city, even in the dangerous places. So we have to understand that technology can do also something very useful, and can, for example, with micro cameras, security micro cameras, can reassure people to get in touch with this technology. So we know that in that place there are micro cameras, there's a light, there's security, there are a lot of stuff that I can get in touch with that. And I know that this one is a point of reference that can make my neighborhood safer and with much more security than before. So technology is not just entertainment, it's not just video, it's not just social media. Technology is also something very useful. So useful for places where you have to deliver content, special content, where you have to be present with security, even if you have to be present with emergency stuff like police, like hospital people. So with the technology, with the right technology spread all over the cities, we can do better cities and also safer cities, even if these cities are dangerous. So content is king and technology is useful. So technology has to be useful and form has to be beauty and beauty has to be useful beauty. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much, Federico. Now we have some time for questions. So if anyone in the audience wants to make a question, feel free to ask.
Adolfo, until you ask that question, just something for all of you to think. Look at this. This is a smart city, right? Efrat, you have to look at this. We're 6 people on stage. 3 men, 3 women. 3 men with mic, 3 women with
Without
no mic.
mic.
Just think about it. I don't know how it happened. Think about it.
So please, any question from the audience? I was talking at the preparation of this panel about my city, and I was telling you that we have the oldest slum area in whole Europe, in Sevilla. So it's a problem that has come from many, many years. So I would like to ask you, what do you think, what measurement about your experience, what is amazing, could be implemented to cope with a problem like that? That is a problem that we can go everywhere. So it's something related to discrimination. So how technology can cope with that kind of problem? So please, Hila.
So I need to go to the mic. No other way. If you're referring to a low neighborhood, as you said, which is a challenge of that place, before anything, I'm coming from Tel Aviv, but I also was lucky enough to be 6 weeks in Christchurch, New Zealand, and help them. I was just now in Sao Paulo, different cities around the world. If you want to refer to some kind of a challenge, before anything, sit there, listen to the residents, sit with them, either through digital or technology, but sometimes you can even, you know what we did in Tel Aviv? In Rabin Square, it's like the biggest square, we had 3,000 people coming to sit on round tables, listen and understand what the problem is. Once you define what you think is the problem, you start dealing with grassroots from downstairs. I gave you one solution we did in a very poor neighborhood in Tel Aviv. Before anything, we put on the light at nighttime, wherever you don't feel safe. First of all, make sure that there is light, that you can see people, that they feel a little bit more safe. Then go to the other, there's of course so many other things to deal, but this is just a little tip that we did that brought the feeling of safeness so much higher.
Okay. So please.
All right. And so I think similarly, when you're dealing with communities like this, I would go even more simply after listening, really take a serious look at placemaking. And I know that there's a whole lot of sessions this year, particularly I'm seeing increased around how do you transform very simple, underutilized spaces. And there's an organization that I'm involved with that took a parking lot at the most dangerous intersection in Dallas called 5 Points. Literally, there were 5 streets converging there, most dangerous. There are swing sets, there are food stands, there are activations, there are playgrounds. And from the day one, there are just people converging there. There's more people on the street. The lighting's better, the entertainment, people are coming with their families. And already the safety has improved, and it's only been activated for 2 weeks of a year-long pilot. And one of the organizers said to the police officer the day after and said, "Are you seeing the same drug dealers and drug activity?" And he said, "One of my main drug dealers was here last night, but he brought his daughter." And so these are the types of pieces that can really transform a neighborhood. So I'll just stop there.
Thank you, Jennifer.
I know a similar experience experience in Brooklyn with a company, with a consultant, healthcare consultant company who is working in partnership with us, that they integrated the different departments in the city council, and they provide a whole support for homeless in this case. As you can imagine, they have a lot of problem of alcohol and other exclusion problems, and they provide to these people, these excluded people, a lawyer, a primary care worker, a social services worker. They invest in people, and they can recover these people, these excluded people, to the society. It's an investment, it's not a cost. We can improve our society if we are focused on people, and it's mandatory to integrate all these areas, not different departments, not barriers between health, social care, and other departments. They have to be integrated to provide the best services for us, for citizens.
Thank you. Sorry.
Oh, you can take that.
I would just, I would build on that, and I would say that if we're aspiring to build inclusive societies, you have to break down barriers. And those barriers can be technology barriers, those barriers can be within the cities themselves. And so one of the areas that we have started to look at is homelessness, right? And homelessness being targeted to those folks who aren't as included in financial services, let's say. And so how do you get those guys and those gals into a program where they feel that they have the means to be able to buy things and to have an identity? So you bring together payment and identity and some sort of workforce in order to enable that kind of society for that group and be more inclusive. But that only happens when you recognize that there are barriers today, and that by only working together do we design programs that take those otherwise very siloed services and pull them together into one.
Thank you, Jody. And Federico.
I think that one thing is very important that was talking to Hila before is that there are some very easy, small stuff that we have to do, and that light is one of that's easy that we don't think about that, but it's very important. The other one is similar to this one is the communication, actually, because sometimes there are distance can cut off a lot of services that we probably need. So if we delay this lack of communication between suburbs, neighborhood, also good neighborhood but far from the center, to all the local authorities that we have, we can also improve this. People outside the center can get in touch much easier. You feel much more close to the central institution, to those local police, local authorities. So this could be, easy ingredients like something of a good plate. I come from Italy, so easy ingredients make the best plate. So light communication and few more, but very easy. But sometimes there's a huge lack of this one. Also, if there are easy point. So communication, light, and many more. So probably you have to work on that one. So thank you.
Any question from the audience? Yes, please.
Is there a mic?
Come here.
You want mine?
No, from the microphone.
That's all right.
Take your stage.
Actually, my question is for MasterCard. And I remember that you people are coming to this Congress already for several years. And there is always about data and about the amount of data that you are able to analyze. And I remember one of your colleagues, I don't remember her name, but like 2 or 3 years ago, saying that people rely on surveys, but you already have basically the reality of where people are going, where they're coming from, and where they spend their money. So that's a very, very important amount of data. And people that have data are basically financial institutions, like credit card companies, banks, and telecoms. What is your business model of sharing that data with actually cities? Because I understand that there is a business, for example, if I want to put a restaurant that you can sell me certain information that where is the location that is more likely for a good business. But when you're talking about sharing with cities, what is your business model?
Good question. Yeah?
Yeah, you can hear me? Yeah?
Yeah,
Okay,
it works.
good. Good question. I'm happy that you asked. Because it's a question that we're actually getting quite a bit. And by the way, if you want to check us out at the City Possible Plaza just down the way, we have a demo of the product that I spoke about. So this question of the monetary value of what we do, I'm not going to deny that it's an incredible asset. But actually, when I spoke about the City Possible Network, we're offering it to the network of cities who we partner with today as part of the membership. So it's not designed around any sort of monetary or any sort of business economic model. It's based on the premise that we do well by doing good as an organization. And I'm incredibly proud to be part of an organization that puts that first. So when we actually rise to the challenge in our urban centers and we use our assets and our data to create a better society, we all benefit. How incredible is that? Yeah. So check us out. Like I said, we're down at the City Plaza at the end there, and you can check out the data that we spoke about. There's a model. You can play with it. Happy to share more.
I just want to wrap up before we finish, Adolfo. I think for me, as a city maker, and I hopefully for the people who are sitting here on the stairs and people who are sitting over there, look all around you. It's all beautiful colors. We're all dressed beautifully. Everything is fixed, smart city. At the end of the day, it's up to education. It's up to social responsibility. It's up to the poor and vulnerable. We have to take care of them, not about ourselves. So this is what I would like from Tel Aviv to send back to you. Thank you.
Thank you. Jennifer, you want to talk?
I was already up. I think the final step is really to listen first and make decisions later, would be the very simplest. Incorporate technology as a last piece of the solution that is a catalyst to getting to that solution you're looking for. You shouldn't don't design a problem based on a shiny object solution. Pick that shiny object later when you know what you need.
Thank you. We have another question here. Please, you want to get up?
Hi. Well, actually, I'm from Mexico, and we have been developing a lot of smart city projects, right? We currently don't have a smart city per se, right? So it's following up on what you were saying before. What would be your best recommendation on starting like an ecosystem of smart cities projects, companies, even the engagement of the governments? What would your recommendation, like each of you, if you could share with us, please?
Okay. Thank you. This is it. The last one, so please shortly that recommendation and we finish, okay? So please.
Leadership. It's up to leadership of your mayor, leadership of the people, taking grassroots and supporting the ecosystem, because the people are there. The innovators, the startups, the entrepreneurs, they are there. You just have to reach out to them, support them, give a little bit of budget, do city making, all of what we just talked about, but it's about leadership. Hopefully your mayor is a leader. I don't know which city. I'm very lucky to come from Tel Aviv with a great mayor of 20 years of leadership, and you see the results. You can see with cities all over, but it's all up to us. We are only city makers, but it's up to our leadership to take off red tapes and put red carpets.
Ditto, plus choose the short-term win and really make sure everyone sees that progress, but without losing sight of the long-term solution and moving that forward in parallel. Election cycles can make that tricky, so stay the course.
I agree with my colleagues, but I will add that you need data. Make decisions based on data, not human decisions, or yes, human decisions, but based on data. Objective decisions and you have to need in more depth your citizens, their needs, and you can customize your offer or your services for your citizens. You need data and analyze this data.
Thank you.
I would just add to that you can't solve alone, right? And I spoke a little bit about that. We've all spoken about that. But it's breaking down the barriers, and it can be public-private partnership, but recognizing that there's many stakeholders, including the citizens, including the businesses, including the government, that really need to be brought to the table to solution together.
This one is working? Okay, it's working. Okay. Test it. Test. A lot of test. Because actually, I mean, here we are all, as Hila says, now here is everything is beautiful. But if you see, I mean, down here, behind this shirt, there are a lot of tattoos that I cannot show because my boss doesn't want it. So, I mean, but that's the real me, right? So, outside here, real life is different. Here's a good showcase, but real life is different. So test it on field, because everyone, you study in the lab, you study in a lot of meetings, but after that, you go outside and you find out that probably is 50% is different that you probably previously studied. So test a lot of tests, because test on field, it's the best way to provide a good solution and not waste any money. So
test and fast fail, and improve your idea and your solutions with more prototypes.
Okay, so thank you very much for so amazing panel. I enjoyed that very much. I hope you do, and of course the audience. So thank you for hearing us, and hope to see you soon.